Good morning and welcome to today's webinar on the IEEE Computer Society's STCs or Special Technical Communities. Today's webinar is being led by Bruce McMillan. Bruce is currently on the Computer Society Board of Governors and also serves on the Membership and Geographic Activities Board as the Vice Chair of our STCs. A little bit about Bruce. Bruce received a PhD in Computer Science in 1988 from Michigan State University and a BS degree in Electrical and Computer Engineering from Michigan Technological University. He is a senior member and a Golden Core awardee of the Computer Society and received its Outstanding Contribution Award. He is a professor of computer science and associate dean of engineering and computing at the Missouri University of Science and Technology, and director of its Center for Information Assurance. His work involves fault-tolerant, secure, distributed, embedded systems for critical infrastructures, and he participates in smart grid-related standards activities. He is extending this core work in computing and engineering into a smart environment focus that blends computing with the social sciences. Just a few housekeeping items before I turn it over to Bruce. If you have questions at any time, please use the chat function. We will answer your questions as they come in or at the end of the webinar. If for some reason we don't respond to your question, we will follow up with you at the end or after the webinar is concluded. This webinar is being recorded and will be sent out in approximately 1 week and will also be posted on computer.org. Now here is Bruce, who will walk us through our special technical communities.
Thanks very much for the introduction, and thank all of you for showing up for our webinar today. So again, I'm going to talk about special technical communities, and really what are they, and where do we see them going, and then probably most importantly, how can you get involved? Okay. So what is an STC? And this is taken from the STC website. Quote, building global interactive communities around important areas of interest to the Computer Society. So the whole focus behind STCs is really this notion around agile communities with common interests, and the most obvious one perhaps is technical. People around a particular technical area of interest, let's say security, let's say outreach. It could also be geographical. One can formulate a special technical community around geographical aspects. Career, let's say people looking at IT professionals or security professionals. And really it's wide open, a variety of others as well. So a little bit of history here. How did this get started? And it goes back to 2010 and the engagement by a number of past presidents. And the concept of instant communities came to really look at how the Computer Society could adapt quickly to things that change very, very rapidly. Computing always has been changing very rapidly. It's certainly accelerated within the last few years. And so the next year, there were 5 key strategies set out for the Computer Society, and one of them is this notion of special technical communities. Things can be stood up very, very quickly. They're agile. And there were 10 pilots. Most of those piloted STCs are still around today. Finally, in 2013, the STCs are really codified in the Computer Society's policies and procedures as potentially revenue-generating, agile entities, easy to create, easy to organize, and probably in terms of our long-term strategy, the notion of developing new products and services is a key thing to keep in mind. Then in 2014, STCs were moved under membership and geographical activities. You may want to ponder that for a second. But yes, of course, STCs allow the Computer Society to reach into areas that traditionally we haven't been able to reach into. And as we get into the presentation, we'll see a little bit more of that. So starting in 2015, and that's actually where I got involved in the direct leadership of the STCs, is what we've seen is a lot of online communities within each of the STCs. Newsletters are one primary output. Social networking sites are another primary output. And really it has allowed us as the Computer Society to reach in some new areas. Social networking, for example, one of the original 10. E-government's been very, very successful, both with an online community and some on-the-ground activities. Enterprise architecture is a new one. Smart computing, a way of looking at integrating computing in many, many different aspects of society. And several on-the-ground activities as well that have really kind of expanded our portfolio of conference offerings. So I'll talk about that in a little bit here. Just by the numbers, STC participation, and these are the ones that are officially registered. You'll notice an asterisk up here by cloud computing. Cloud computing actually boasts about 11,000 people. The reason that these numbers are low is these are the ones that actually click to subscribe when you renew your Computer Society membership. In fact, when you do renew your Computer Society membership, you'll find the ability to click on and join some of these communities. Just in the last couple of years, we've seen this kind of growth from 2,400 last year to almost 4,000 this year. So definitely this is a growing enterprise. Now, there is another structure within the Computer Society called a Technical Committee, or TC. And if you want to learn more about that, see Housie Mueller's March 31st webinar on conferences and TCs for a lot of depth in there. STCs interplay with the TCs, and there's really three kinds of STCs. Ones that are similar to TCs. So, for example, there's an STC on cybersecurity. There's a TC on security and privacy. And if you look at the focus, obviously they're definitely around security, but the STC has branched off more into cyber-physical type of security, for example. There are STCs that expand the Computer Society's scope. We had a couple examples of e-government, for example. It's something that really starts to look at how the Computer Society can go beyond its existing focus. And STCs that can perhaps bridge multiple technical committee domains. I think one of our past presidents, John Waltz, who is also on the STC steering board, has a great term for this. He calls it the white space in between various technical committees. And I think going forward as computing as a discipline, that is really a place where we can have some major contribution as well as uniting somewhat disparate activities. So here is a very detailed slide of the technical committees and the special technical communities. And so the technical communities are on the right here, the technical committees, and technical councils on the left. I've lumped the two together here. And you can see again, we have things like big data. Big data is one of these that really does span a number of different interests. You can think of distributed systems, you can think of data mining here, all being in the big data. Broadening participation, this is an interesting group. It has really no direct relationship to any of the technical committees, but it's a way of getting underrepresented groups involved in STEM disciplines, in particular computing. Cloud, along with big data, very similar again, spanning a number of different areas. I mentioned cybersecurity and its relation here to security and privacy. Education STC has also stood up both an active group and a set of conferences. Likewise, e-government. E-government in particular is probably one of the largest STCs outside of cloud. It has stood up activities with international governments from Spain to Peru to hosting a hackathon for humanity in Chicago. So now we're talking outreach that is very, very non-traditional for the Computer Society. And you can run down the list here and look at it again on the recording. But this is our current portfolio of special technical communities with respect to the technical committees. And so we've got a question coming off in chat. So what TC or STC covers agile development? So that down on the bottom here is under the Technical Council of Software Engineering. Technical Council, again, spans a number of different areas within the software engineering field. So thanks a lot for that question. So Computer Society conference sponsorship. Let's do a little bit of a repeat of the tutorial for Housie Mueller's March 31st presentation. There are three kinds of sponsorship. There's technical co-sponsorship, and you can see the bullets here. It's really the notion that the IEEE Computer Society has put its stamp of approval on the quality of the publications, on the quality of the review process, and the conference can carry the Computer Society badge. Financial co-sponsorship and financial sponsorship add to that. in the sense that now the Computer Society treats this as a revenue operation. It also accepts liability if something should go wrong with the conference. So currently, technical committees can do all three. Special technical communities right now have done technical co-sponsorship. Now there is some discussion underway, and indeed I'm on a special task force to take a look at how STCs and TCs will coexist and whether there is the opportunity for financial co-sponsorship and how that would work under STCs. So watch this space for future information. So just as a summary of STCs on the ground here, this is what we've done over the last few years. Again, out of the 18 STCs, you can see that they've sponsored some of their own conferences. For example, I started with broadening participation. They have a concept called RESPECT, which is essentially equity and sustained participation. So it's a very interesting area. Likewise, we see the cybersecurity group sponsoring a conference called Cyber Conflict. So this is very, very different than the traditional offerings that we've had within the Computer Society and Security and Privacy. You look over on the right, you see the e-government activities. You see IT convergence and security. One of the first things that the Smart Computing group did is co-sponsor an IEEE level conference that was held in Paris a couple months ago, Forum on Smart Grids for Smart Cities. And then also CompSec, which is the Computer Society's conference that is directly under control of the Board of Governors, not associated with the technical committee, also has hosted a number of different STCs as a congress or a symposia within its conference, within its scope. In fact, it'll be held again in Italy this July, and we're adding fog computing, which is going to be part of cloud, into the Computer Society portfolio here through the CompSec conference. So you see a couple different ways of doing this. One is to stand up your own conference. One is to piggyback on an existing conference. So STCs from 2015. What has evolved here? And I mentioned, we've reached into new areas, several on-the-ground activities. There is a desire, and this is particular for academics, to get into IEEE Explore, to produce archival publications. While online communities are great for discussing things, again, serving our membership and allowing them venues to publish different sort of ideas, I think is a real attractive nature that the STCs have. Computer Society has stood up a new social networking platform called Collaboratech. That's encouraged for new STCs, but not restricted to that. We have STCs that also do their work on Facebook and a number of other social media sites. And one last aspect of STCs here is that cloud in particular has received initiatives when they complete it. An IEEE initiative is a 2 to 3 year project which stands up in a significant new technical area. Cloud, of course, made the most sense to be hosted by the Computer Society. It was a very seamless transition to get cloud to be hosted by the Computer Society after the initiative finished. So, how to get involved? There's been a thing running along the bottom of each slide. I've repeated the URL up here. Is to join an STC, you could simply go to the STC site. Click on the logo you wish to join. Every one of them is different because every one of them is member organized, so there are different ways to join. If you'd like to initiate a new STC in an area that you might be interested in, there's an application form for that. That goes to our executive committee, who the turnaround is fairly rapid on this. And there's a tab as well for people looking for volunteers to join existing STCs, or if you're interested in volunteering, there's a list of opportunities there. So the way forward, this is my opinion now, but I think it aligns with the stated strategic directions. The Computer Society really needs a way to organize emerging technologies. Things come at us very, very fast. Things stand out very, very quickly. And there are ways to organize these. STCs that want a conference, if you're closely related to a TC, approaching that TC saying, hey, folks, we see our scopes are very similar here. Would you like to expand your scope? And I think that is a very efficient way to do things without creating another standalone conference. If there's something different than a TCs, you can be hosted by a general conference. CompSci, for example, is one of those sort of conferences. And then STCs have a natural migration into becoming a TC or a consortia. If you can demonstrate that you have an active, viable community, there is a way to then become a permanent committee. There's a way to stand up a journal saying, well, here's your base of authors, here's your base of reviewers. So it's a very, very natural way of building a community very, very quickly. Likewise, it can go directly to the special initiatives at the IEEE level or the Future Directions Committee to really propose that this is something we should invest in as a major society. So with that, thanks for your attention. Are there any additional questions? So let's see what we have coming in here on the chat line. So there seems, okay, so thanks for the talk. There seem to be no artificial intelligence or machine learning communities. Are these there? Well, there's an interesting opportunity for investing your time to organize such a thing. Now, there is some aspect that exists in terms of machine intelligence and artificial intelligence. That would be PAMI here, and Transactions on Technical Committee on PAMI, and they have their own conference and journal. So there is a base to look at. But if you're looking at a different variant of that, again, there's the opportunity to create an STC within this area. Okay, for STC membership, how to count it? Do I need to build a database? And let me get back to you offline about that one. That's one thing for STC leaders. Let's see. Next question. How do we contact the STC board? So again, this URL that is found on each one of the slides, the STC leadership will be listed there. I am in my last month of a term, so there will be a new leader starting in January. But we're always willing to respond and very eager to respond to any inquiries. So I think that ends our questions here. So again, thanks a lot for listening today. And again, if you want to get involved, do not hesitate to reach out to us. So thanks a lot.
Great. Thank you, Bruce. And thank you, everybody, for participating on today's call. I hope you learned a lot about our special technical communities and additional ways that you can get involved and make the most of your membership experience. We do conduct these monthly. I hope you will join us on the 20th of the month as Board of Governors Chris Schober will do a recap and do a year in review of IEEE Computer Society and the new benefits introduced. So again, thank you, and I hope to hear or see you on the webinar on the 20th. Great. Have a nice December.